Welcome to our very first podcast. We've named our podcast Sacred Wisdom with Connecting Consciousness, opening our hearts and minds, connecting with our inner wisdom and authenticity to capture the essence of what we plan to deliver in our podcasts.
Since this is our first podcast, we'll start with introductions. It's my honor to introduce our podcast host, Becky Parks. Most people know Becky as the co-founder of Connecting Consciousness and as the leader of the organization's day-to-day operations. But today, I'm going to give a deeper glimpse into Becky, the woman. It's been my honor and pleasure to work closely with Becky over the last year, co-authoring CC's monthly spiritual topics and working together on various training opportunities. Over this time, I've gotten to know the real Becky and have learned that she truly embodies the qualities of the archetypal divine feminine. Becky is supportive and kind, and she can be firm when necessary. She's heart-centered, highly intuitive, wise, reflective, collaborative, and very creative. Becky has a diploma in adult education focused on childbirth, and she spent many years helping parents through pregnancy, the birthing process, and early parenthood. She also has a degree in biological sciences and a master's in environmental health. But Becky's education doesn't stop there. She worked through all levels of study with the National Federation of Spiritual Healers, and she took a 2-year course in shamanic training. Through Becky's training and experiences, she is versed in various shamanic traditions and healing styles, sound and light healing, hands-on healing, divination, and developing one's intuition. She loves crystals and crystal healing and is proficient in deeper skills like cord cutting, soul retrieval, deep journeys into ancestral roots, soul history, and lineage. Becky is a mother, stepmother, grandmother, and a loving mom to 4 dogs and 9 cats. She is also a trained musician, trained in flute and piano. Becky is connecting consciousness, is divine feminine and nurturing mother. CC coordinators, volunteers, and members who have gotten to know Becky or who have seen her on other podcasts regularly ask to hear more from her. And these requests are what gave birth to the Sacred Wisdom with Connecting Consciousness podcast.
Thank you, Chris. And it's my pleasure to introduce our podcast co-host, Chris Clifford. Chris has been part of the Connecting Consciousness family for nearly 2 years and has been the US Tennessee State Coordinator, the US Central Regional Coordinator, served on CC's US management team, and most recently been working directly with me to co-author the monthly spiritual topics and create other training opportunities within the CC organization. Chris spent 30 years in the corporate world, working up to senior leadership roles, overseeing operations, service, training, and project teams. She reveled in being unique and authentic, modeling compassionate leadership, showing that kindness belongs in the workplace, and helping team members find their strengths and passions. Over the years, Chris discovered her own passion, inspiring others to find their unique path and live their best life. After surviving a house fire and 2 near-fatal accidents, Chris had many deeply spiritual experiences that accelerated her spiritual journey and personal transformation. Through these experiences, Chris not only learned how to overcome adversity, but how to transform her life. She achieved this by learning and employing timeless principles like taking responsibility, authenticity, gratitude, forgiveness, releasing limiting beliefs, and embracing the unknown. This resulted in greater balance and joy in her life, as well as expanded opportunities to help others achieve their goals by writing about teaching these principles. Chris has a master's in business administration and is a certified Six Sigma black belt. She's a Reiki master, certified Chopra Center meditation instructor, professional life coach, certified belief clearing practitioner, and a Jack Canfield Success Principles trainer. Chris is a stepmother, grandmother, and an adoring mom to her sweet curly-coated retriever. Okay. We also have two very special guests on our first podcast. Both are CC members. Sue is a US coordinator and grandmother Mulara is active in CC in Australia and more broadly. Both have had very unique and powerful spiritual journeys that have given them deep sacred wisdom. And it's my honor to introduce grandmother Mulara. Grandmother Mulara is a healer, teacher, musician, counselor, executive coach, academic, and consultant. She is an Adna Mutna Kuyani Barkinji elder and senior Aboriginal law woman. That's law spelt L-A-W and L-O-R-E. And wisdom keeper of grandmother law, white whale dreaming, and the law of one woman. Grandmother Mulara acknowledges the ancestors of the lands on which she lives, works and plays, and pays respect to all elders past, present and future, trained by senior law women and men throughout Australia for over 50 years. She acknowledges the senior law wisdom keepers who have walked before her, those who are living now and those who will come after her. Grandmother Mulara has researched at PhD level into values, ethics and leadership, and has received numerous awards for her work, including an Australian Prime Minister's Award of Merit. She has worked internationally, including as an NGO delegate to the Women's United Nations Conference in Beijing, and is experienced in leading outdoor expeditions in many parts of Australia and the world, including the Himalayas, Alaska, and the Kokoda Trail in Papua New Guinea. She's also qualified Ignite Your Spirit therapist who specializes in cleansing energy fields of individuals and groups and guides people to a deeper connection with Mother Earth. She was awarded a Juris Doctor in Law in July 2022. By walking in both law, spelt L-O-R-E, and law, spelt L-A-W, she is fulfilling the Aboriginal prophecy of the New Dreaming for Black and white peoples to walk together with Aboriginal law in the lead. What Grandmother Mulara loves about her work is raising the vibration of people and communities and working with them to heal their songlines. Our human songlines contain the strengths and weaknesses of our essence, our humanity. Everyone has the essence of the songlines they were born to, and with this knowledge, people are able to heal their ancestral line whilst healing themselves in their stories. Now I'll hand over to Chris to introduce Sue.
Thank you, Becky. It's my pleasure to introduce Sue Cimino. Sue is an author, speaker, gifted intuitive, visionary, and a believer in miracles. She was a certified accountant and an auditor when she had a major spiritual awakening. This started her on a path of following guidance and living in grace. Her travels in search for truth led to 9 years in a spiritual community immersed in a course of miracles, which enabled her to find her own deep inner connection to the divine. In 2007, Sue was called to Tasmania. In her book, Ancient Ones Are Calling Us, Learning to Listen Changed My Life, Sue shares her remarkable journey of quitting her accounting job to follow this mystical calling. On this journey, she connected with the circle of consciousness involved with creation that has been whispering to humanity for eons, helping us to evolve and grow. This ancient celestial energy gave Sue important messages about humanity and what is needed for it to flourish and blossom into wholeness. Sue was also taught how to heal herself from Lyme disease. Through these communications, the wholeness alignment process emerged, a life-changing protocol that enables people to align with their divine self and embrace their own wholeness. These days, Sue continues to live in grace and work with the circle of consciousness involved with creation as this wholeness work unfolds. She's currently living in Maryland and serving as CC's U.S. co-coordinator for Maryland, Delaware, and Washington, D.C. She has a degree in accounting and is a trained BICOM, bioresonance therapist, and a trained RTT hypnotherapist. But her most valuable training came from life, illness, and her spiritual journey. Sue's greatest passion is empowering people to remember their wholeness and reclaim their sovereignty so they can reach their full potential and bring their unique gifts to the world. And so welcome Grandmother Mulara and Sue. Thank you for joining us today. And we wanted to share that Becky, Grandmother Mulara, Sue and I had a discussion previously about many different spiritual topics. And it was so amazing that we asked Grandmother Mulara and Sue if we could do it again and record it this time.
So when we met before, some of the topics that we discussed were benevolence and grace, humanity's connection to Mother Earth, and spiritual hygiene. And I would first like to hand over to Grandmother Mulara, and after we will invite Sue to share her thoughts. So welcome, Grandmother Mulara. That was a long introduction.
It was an amazing introduction. Thank you so much for inviting me to come on your first podcast. And what an incredible circle of women that I'm sitting with here. And for the listeners of this podcast, should be really awe-struck by the amazing introductions that we've just had. Not that we could remember all of it, but you can get the essence of it as a transmission of the importance of these women coming together with their wisdom and sacred knowledge. So I thank you for inviting me to be here. So one of the things that really stood out to bring to the conversation that is about sacredness and consciousness is about working with the energy of Earth, working with it and how that interacts with the energy of us and our body and just the whole energy systems. It's really, it's phenomenal. The universe actually is breathing in and out and pulsing, and we are doing the same thing. Our energy field is very much connected. The currency that runs through us is connected to the grid of Earth. So we have an electromagnetic currency, well, you would have heard that term. What the grandmothers call for that equivalent in Earth is the magnetotelluric grid. That is the natural magnetic and natural electricity, but not the electricity we think of, where you plug something in. But, think Tesla. The natural electrical current of Earth is called the telluric grid. And we are in relationship to that, whether we're aware of it or not, and it does affect our consciousness. So one of the things I wanted to mention was that things like, if sleeping, for example, if you're, we're all sleeping during the evening, what direction are you sleeping? Are you sleeping with your head pointing north or south, which is a good idea? Or are you sleeping crossways? If you're sleeping crossways, you're going against the natural rhythm of the torus field of Earth, you see. And that will affect you. Just a simple thing like that can make a big difference. And another one could be, if you suffer from insomnia, then possibly you are sleeping where energy currents cross. And that's not a good thing. And another one, just while I'm at it, or should do things in threes, if you suffer from arthritis, something like that, then it's highly likely that you've got water running underneath the land, underneath the surface of the Earth, underneath your house. So there's all sorts of ways in which you can deal with that. But what I'm getting at is that we cannot bypass the effect of the energy of the earth on us and the impact of that energy on us and vice versa. So I want to introduce you to the crystalline grid, because the quality of the grid affects our energy. So, hey, with consciousness, we can help raise the quality of the grid that we interact with consciously and unconsciously. So the crystalline grid actually holds, I don't know how many of you have heard of that before. The crystalline grid is actually in the earth. It changes, the depth of the earth, it changes all the time, but all of the crystals of earth are connected. They're in resonance with each other. Some are in between rocks on the surface of the earth. Others are deep in the earth. I can tell you that there is a crystal womb in the earth that is like a generator of the crystalline energy. And the crystalline grid has such a powerful effect on us, far more than you may realize, because the crystals are interacting with us. And when we are working with consciousness, we can consciously connect to crystals to actually work with them for the highest good of the crystal, for bringing in its highest potential, and you, because you are a crystal. We are crystalline energy. We cannot get away from having an effect on the crystalline grid and vice versa. So the crystal grid holds the memory of everything that has ever happened. If you've ever walked a lot across the land and you've come across a place and you go, whoa, that doesn't feel good, then you can bet that the crystalline energy of that place is holding a memory of something terrible that happened, like a war, a battle, a massacre. I'm going big on that, but it could be small too. But the point being that I'm sure all of those listening to this podcast can remember a time where they've walked across the land and had a funny feeling. And that funny feeling is held in the crystalline grid because the land holds the memories. Holds the memories here in Australia. I'm in Brisbane, by the way, and at the moment it's 8:20 p.m. on a Monday. The others can check when they're on too. We're all on different timelines. And so the memory in the earth is held by the crystals. So we can actually fix that. We can actually do a whole lot of healing around that and release that energy by understanding the crystalline grid and how it works. So it can be cleansed and healed and renewed. It is imperative, actually, that humanity cleans up, that we clean up our energy field, because the consciousness grid is actually in the earth. It's not above us, although we have the law of the universe is as above, so below, and as a below, so above. There is a replica above the earth, but the crystalline grid is actually in the earth, and it is the consciousness grid. Now, Earth has been expanding, her consciousness has been expanding, and we need to do that. We need to expand our consciousness to be in resonance with Mother Earth. We cannot do it without her, otherwise. And what's been holding it back all these eons has been humanity's been dulled down, and and Earth herself was caught in a tight ball. But that's not the case anymore. So when we're really consciously working with our consciousness, each and every one of us impact on that consciousness grid. We expand, she expands, Earth expands. So it's the consciousness of the earth that we're directly in right relationship with. The amethyst grid, I've mentioned that on some of my broadcasts, and the amethyst grid is the new grid. It's come in, it's got a new spiritual consciousness, and it has a higher resonance, a higher vibration, being amethyst, the color purple. And what's happened is we've gridded Australia with amethyst, and that amethyst grid is sung up every morning or afternoon, but every day, by the elder who looks after that grid. So great blessings to him. It's a life of love, and it's a joy for him, so much so that he has become the amethyst grid. So I think that's a lot to take in.
There are so many points there. It's fantastic. I mean, you really brought forward a very, very important point, and that is how humanity is connected as a whole and is connected to Mother Earth. And what we think and feel impacts on others, even though we don't realize it. Not just that those in our nearest vicinity, but others, the other side of the world, and also impacts on Mother Earth. And this is one of our deeper teachings, in fact, in one of the spiritual topics that Chris and I talked about. Just before we move on to Sue, I wanted to say, yes, so we're all on Monday, the 15th of August, 2022. But for Grandmother Mulara, it's about 8:30. For me, it's about 11:30 in the morning. And Chris and Sue, what time is it with you now?
And it is 6 a.m. in the morning for us.
Wow, so very early. Thank you for getting up so early today. So I'll hand over to Sue now.
Well, Grandmother Mulara, thank you. That was amazing. I loved it. And, you know, we don't really have, our work is different. And as you talked, I could see how it's so overlaid with each other and connected. I haven't really thought about crystalline grids and consciousness grids, but I work a lot with human consciousness and raising the vibration and getting us cleaned up. And so I assist people in aligning with their divine self and allowing that energy to move back down in so that they can ground fully in their physicality. Like there's a level of integration that is needed for humanity. And it's more than what most people have been doing up to this point. It's for us to be able to open to the divine and still be firmly grounded on the earth. We are part of nature. We, you know, if you look back, I agree with you about the dumbing down. And if you look back, ancestors were deeply connected with nature, and there was this, programming or technology that pulled us away from that connection. So reestablishing that connection, both with the greater us and the physical reality where we live, is critical. And what I especially love about, because you're saying the crystalline grid needs cleaned up, and my focus, it's like I'm a gardener in consciousness. It's like my in humanity, there's this subconscious stuff that we carry that affects our health, our experiences, what we draw to us, our life. You know, it really affects us. You're saying it's down in the grid. Well, I don't disagree with that at all. I love that idea, but it's like that subconscious stuff that we're not aware of. If we were aware of it, we would do something with it. Like most of the people watching this have been working on raising their vibration and becoming better people. They would deal with that if they knew how, but a lot of it is subconscious. And so there are ways, benevolence and grace was one of the things we were talking about too, because I know the universe, the creation, God, all that is being wholly beneficent. And yet things happen that aren't so fun. And what I've been shown is we make agreements, and often they're through coercion or through complicity or, ignorance, misinformation. And that's the dumbing down. Like we could get into that, but we won't. But that, I was shown even just in the last year, it's possible to start breaking, like individuals and them, like them throughout time and space can break these agreements to take on that collective agreement. And that as each person does that and is empowered to take back their sovereignty and break those agreements, it starts affecting the entire human collective. the whole consciousness, because it starts leavening, like new thought patterns, new ideas. It starts lightening it up around everywhere. So I just keep waiting for the 100th monkey thing. Like if enough of us clear things up, break those agreements, allow new possibilities, allow our true worth and potential to start dawning on us, like I get really excited. This is probably the amethyst grid, the new grid that you're talking about. And I'll just say one more thing, and then I'm going to open it up again. You're working on the grid on the planet, and I'm actually setting up like a vertical grid, like grounded and into the divine, and allowing the person to be fully integrated. So that makes me excited how we're working together and didn't even know it. Of course, we're all working together, but that's what I have to say to start with.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you, Grandmother Mulara. And both of you have just touched on fascinating topics, and I love how you've connected them together. I would like to ask both of you, although Sue, I think you started to answer this question. What can our viewers do to better connect with Mother Earth?
I think actually Sue pretty much brought it in by saying ground. It's important that we all ground. So that in my world, that is, it's as simple as taking a breath in and taking that breath down through your body and consciously putting your taproot into the earth, grounding yourself into the earth. And with the next breath, breathing that up from Mother Earth into your heart, into your body, and you can go again, back down again and ground. So if you don't ground, if you just go out without grounding, you end up being like a space cadet and nothing changes. All right. You've got to ground so that whatever you're connecting to and whatever work you're doing is actually going to make a difference. It will make a difference to Earth. It'll make a difference to you. It'll make a difference to the tree that you're sitting under, wherever you are. You need to ground. Oh, through the breath. That's what the question was about, grounding, wasn't it? Through the breath is the easiest and quickest way to do it. But it's about, working with your conscious, the intention of your inner eye and guiding yourself to do that connection into the earth. And the crystalline grid, when you practice your putting your taproot in, you can actually go further and consciously connect to the crystalline grid. And you'll feel the difference in the energetic frequency. Will that answer the question?
I was going to say intention and attention, working with the breath is so important. Yeah. See?
I love that, because this is what I remember about the first time I heard you, Grandmother Mulara, is the taproot thing, because I'm always going taproot into the divine, taproot into the physicality, into the earth, because you need the taproot both directions and they need to be integrated. And that integration, you nailed it. It's like a lot of people want to go out and be spiritual and others only want to be physical. And it's been almost the greatest challenge for humanity right now as we move through this quantum leap we're making, is to allow that to integrate so that you are grounded in both places at the same time. And what I would say, if they even use their intention, I am willing to fully integrate the divine in my physicality. I am willing to, because as you state the possibility and the willingness, you will be given more opportunity, direction, awareness, and do the breathing exercises that Grandmother Mulara suggests. And if you're not feeling it, ask for help. Help me to fully integrate. I am willing. What do I need to know? How do I do this? And you will find, as you ask the universe and creation and all that is, your guides and helpers, whoever, as you ask for help and instruction, it will come to you. The universe has your back. All it wants is to help you move forward into your full potential. And so as you ask, as you are willing to take responsibility and do concrete things like the breathing exercises, like expressing intentions of your willingness to go beyond that dumbed down state. One of my Jean Houston, amazing person that I worked for a while, she had a great statement. She said, we're all like top of the line Stradivarius violins, and yet we play like we're little plastic ukuleles. And I love that. Like, can we just, I'm willing to go beyond plastic ukulele-ness and start discovering more of what's true about me, and allow that to integrate and be fully grounded into my physical experience as well. So there you go, a little extra.
Beautiful.
It's all about the start of the spiritual journey. It is a very personal, very individual journey, and it's very much, people want to look out and find out more. You know, they want to do the research and spread out and think, oh, I need to learn more, I need to find out more, I want to learn more. But the very important part is the inner work and focusing inwards and finding out more about oneself, because as you said, to reach one's true potential, we have to do the inner work. And I know that this is more deeper stuff, you know, and it's not necessarily fun either. One has to look inwards and find out, you know, what it is that really makes you tick. What are the things that you struggle with about yourself? What are the things that you hide from other people about yourself? And having a look at it, the things that, you know, whether it's traits or, you know, qualities, or whether it's things that you've done in the past that you're just not so happy about. And it's really taking a look at these and why they happened. How did that happen? Why did that happen? Why did I react like that? How did that lead to this? And really looking at that, and then doing the forgiveness, the deep forgiveness, and letting that go so that it no longer affects and impacts you. And that then helps you move forwards. And it's things step by step. And sometimes, you know, the same old thing crops up again and again in different ways. And that's important. And it's really learning to also read the signs, read what comes into your life, understand why something's happened or is happening again. And these things, I mean, it's all part and parcel of the spiritual journey, which is so important. And also learning that how the work that you do on yourself, that ultimately affects others around you in a positive way, and others, the other side of the world, in a positive way, because we are all connected. And that's quite a quantum leap in understanding. But once you get that, I think you can't really undo it. You can't unget it.
We must love the unlovable within us that we think is unlovable. We must. And once we have embraced all aspects of ourselves, warts and all, we then can integrate all those aspects, not separate. And in the integration is the key forgiveness piece. Forgive yourself for not being skillful at the time when that happened, or the time when you did this, or the time that you did that. Forgive yourself and forgive others. We can forgive others. When we've truly forgiven ourselves, we can truly forgive others. And we find that we're no longer held down by and crippled psychically because we're holding on to something we don't want to release or reveal. Love the unlovable. Discuss the undiscussable. And it will dissipate and integrate. We are all things.
That's Brilliant, thank you. And along with forgiveness is a real understanding that it's that judging others, you know, by your standards or societal standards is it's not the best thing to do. You know, if you're putting out judgment on others, then you're judging them by certain criteria, and you don't necessarily know their life experiences and what, you know, makes them tick. So it's judgment and forgiveness work hand in hand, I think.
Yeah, what we judge in others, we get to keep, because what we judge in others is in us. Oh, I remember the very first time when I found that out. Oh no, that can't possibly be in me. Whoops, yes it was. And a bit of digging has been a very great thing to release that. It really great words, Becky, great advice.
One of my favorite teachers said, everyone has a story. And that's always stuck with me, because when I remember that everyone has a story and I have no idea what their story is, then it's easier to be in a place of neutrality and not judgment. And Becky, I also wanted to touch on what you said, which the whole inner work, or some people call it shadow work. For those who are just getting started with it, I think it's so important. Like when I'm in situations, something happened recently where I had an encounter with someone who was very unkind, and you know, it's easy to get caught up in that situation, and to be able to step back and stay heart-centered. And then after, I ask myself, what can I learn from this? And if you get in a habit of asking that question, what can I learn? Even though it's easy to be like, oh, there's nothing for me to learn from that, right? Like that person was unkind. But if you ask yourself that question and go deep enough, there was a tiny little piece in there. I was like, oh, okay, I can learn from this. And usually there's some little nugget there that you can learn.
The question to ask yourself is, where have I been that? Where have I been unkind?
Yes.
Absolutely. And also, why is that triggering me? You know, are they really unkind, or am I just very sensitive to that? Why is that triggering me specifically on that point? I know this is kind of reflecting in action, reflecting in the moment on the shamanic term is stalking oneself, because you are like having a hawk's eye on yourself and your reactions to everything that happens to you. Why do I react to this in a certain way? And once you start stalking yourself, you can start to observe and build a picture of, you know, what really affects you and makes you tick, and why does it do that, and why do I keep reacting to this, and how can I learn not to? And it's, as I said, it's a very personal journey. Yeah.
It's interesting. One other question is, are you being unkind to yourself? Since we're doing the unkind from different directions, because I hear people saying nobody hears me. It's like, but are you hearing yourself? Personal responsibility is such a huge deal, and so important as you like take back your sovereignty and make choices for yourself, realizing you have the power. Like if you forgive, the world around you starts changing. Forgiveness is almost alchemical. Like if you can forgive things that seem unforgivable, the world around you starts changing. I laugh because some of my clients, you know, so a family member they haven't heard from in 20 years suddenly calls them out of the blue and acts like nothing happened. You know, it's so amazing, but it takes that personal responsibility of making choices that you want this taproot both directions. I call it a foundation of being. I see it like a lightsaber, that it's just like vroom, and you can hear the hum vroom, like in Star Wars. But it's when you remember that about yourself and allow that to your light being to start filling in and tap rooting, it allows you to move through your life with a deeper certainty, not looking outside, but with a trust and faith in yourself as you move through. And so then it's much easier as you take the things that trigger you or that are in your face, because you've got this foundation of being, it's much easier to find what's underneath those things. And I want to just allow for another possibility, because most of the people I meet, they're digging. They've been trying really hard to clear all their emotional baggage and their triggers and their traumas and everything else. I just want to allow for the possibility there might be at a deep level an agreement that was made that you've been carrying through lifetimes that keeps playing out over and over, that just needs, that thread needs pulled so that all that other stuff goes away. It sounds overly simplified, but I just know it's potent. Like what, when that releases, you know, people tell me stories all the time, so I absolutely know it makes a difference. And I believe that just the intention, like if there's something underlying that I need to clear at that level, you know, give me, you know, because anyway,
Well, you could say in your own little, you know, work that you're doing, you know, I now break all agreements, vows, contracts I have ever made in any lifetime.
At the deepest level that are keeping me from fulfilling, you know, like, because because you got to go to, like there's no point in pulling this one when there's one down here, and if you pull that one, they all go. But I love that. Yes, that's what I was trying to say. In your,
and whenever we take something out, we need to put something in, replace it. So we replace it with light, love, compassion, and joy.
absolutely.
Whatever, you know.
Absolutely.
That energetic exchange. Yeah, I agree with you. I'd like to just add another concept, and that is in finding the sacred neutral, the place of sacred neutrality, where we're not attached to an outcome or a person, place, or thing, actually. Because when we leave this body, we can't take anyone or anything with us. But what we take is our spirit soul. And so, you know, the encounters we've had in our life, if life's been a bit rough for listeners here, it's been a bit rough for all of us, we've grown through that. But what we say is you will have had a spiritual encounter or a soul encounter, whatever works for you in terms of, I call it spirit soul so we don't get confused. I have a different way of speaking. And so the spirit soul encounter is the one where you really meet yourself. You go, ooh. And that comes about often through a difficult scenario, navigating a difficult scenario, a challenge, a really difficult challenge. And so as Becky said, you know, you might find, oh, here I go again. I've got this thing's coming around again for me to look at, because it's requiring more of you to really face that challenge and work it through. It isn't something to go, oh, here I go again and I don't want to know about it, which I used to do. It's actually, all right, here I go again. I'm welcoming the opportunity to grow from this experience. But to find the sacred neutral is the ultimate goal. And that then allows you to be fully present, fully conscious, fully connected in the spiritual realm.
And something that Chris said at the beginning about Sue, that Sue has learned through life experiences, you know, that is so important above all other kind of, you know, academic training and other courses and things like that. It is the life experiences, because we all have them. You know, everyone who's born and lives a life on earth, we gain all these different experiences, whatever they may be. And that is the way that we learn, that they're very specifically designed for every human being to be exactly what they need for them to learn a certain thing. You know, and it is the very difficult experiences that push us the most and get us to sort of turn around and say, you know, that's super hard, you know, why is this happening to me? And that's usually people's first questions. Why is this happening to me? Because I don't like it. And I wish it would stop. But it is those difficult experiences that make us understand, have a deeper understanding, if we are willing to go there. Not everybody is. I mean, you can live lifetimes, you know, having lifetimes full of experiences, but not really learning or gaining anything from them. And then you can have a lifetime where you think, right, now I want to just really focus on what's happening to me. Why is it happening? What can I learn from this? And how can I spiritually develop myself so that I can overcome these challenges to become a stronger, better human being, and that I can help others through this as well. One thing that I can think of for me personally was my childbirths. I had 3 different and very challenging childbirths. Really, for me, very, very challenging. And as a result of that, I really, really wanted to help other people not go through what I went through. So I trained to become an antenatal teacher, a childbirth educator, and I gained a huge amount of understanding of natural birth and spiritual birth, and recognizing that how we can approach this and prepare ourselves for something, rather than just thinking, oh God, it's going to happen, but I don't know how to deal with it, and then being faced with a whole load of kind of situations and crises, and poor management, you know, through protocol and things like that. So that's some way that I learned from it and really, really wanted to help others. And I did for many years. I did help couples through pregnancy and childbirth and early parenting. You know, you can't help everybody, but I know that what I did to help, along with my colleagues who also wanted to do the same thing for different reasons, many of them because they'd had the most wonderful, empowering birth, that they wanted to share that and encourage others to have that. But I think you can approach it from all different angles. So that's just something I wanted to add.
It's when you think about this, will help with the forgiveness and the challenging experiences we have. We made choices before we came in here, what we wanted to learn and grow, like what we wanted to deal with. And it keeps being, the opportunities keep being provided. So those people that are triggering you and making you mad and causing you trauma, like it's almost when you get to the bottom of it, when you can heal the thing within you, then you can see, oh, I needed somebody to push those buttons for me to learn that lesson. I can thank them and release them. You don't have to do that anymore. That's enough. Okay. But it just makes it freeze instead of feeling like victims. We're never victims of anything. The universe is wholly beneficent and is always trying to help us deal with, learn, grow from whatever it is we asked for. And once you know the beneficence, it just makes it easier to go through and say, okay, what do I need to learn from this? And how do I do that?
Whatever has been your challenge in your life, in your world, is actually your gift when you come through it. Your gift to others.
And to yourself.
What Becky was saying, you know, that
beautiful.
It becomes your medicine, if you like, what you have to be able to offer the world, because you've been through that and you've popped out the other side.
Like being born.
Like being born, I suppose, yeah. But it's what you've been through is your medicine for the world.
Love it.
Yes. On that note, I'd like to just add a pearl of wisdom. My pearl of wisdom is that all of our experiences and friction and conflict actually creates a pearl. A pearl is formed under friction. Remember that your life is a miracle. And it's a miracle that brings you to this time and place. And it's the friction that creates the pearl of your life. And that's your pearl of wisdom.
Beautiful.
That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And we've gone really quite deep into this. We didn't know where our conversation would take us, not at all, but it's gone quite, into some deep stuff. And what I wanted to also just talk about today, which is along the same lines, it's very closely related, and that is sovereignty. That is our sovereign self. So again, I'd like to go back to Grandmother Mulara for your thoughts on sovereignty. Thank you.
To be sovereign is to be in your, to be able to make choices for yourself, have your own, be the source of your own authority, have the authoritative voice. So I just met with the tribal people in Central Australia for a couple of weeks, just recently, just only a couple of weeks ago. I've only been home a week. And in that, we came together, like about 90 different tribes were represented out of 250. That's pretty damn good. But we all traveled. For me, it took 4 days into the Central Australia, and we met there and had tribal council. We hadn't met before. We all got on. We went there with the true essence in our heart on the land of sovereignty. We said, this is our lands. We are claiming it back. We never ceded our sovereignty as a people. And we have written now a proclamation to the world, a proclamation of sovereignty. And we're claiming our lands, the administration of our lands back. And we're doing that for our tribe, for the people of Australia, and for the people of the world. We're the only peoples that could do it, because we're the only peoples that never ceded sovereignty. And it's happening. So we have made that proclamation. There's more coming out as a result of that. We've actually won already in the International Court and in the Northern Territory Court our coat of arms, taken it back and said, you can't use our symbols. That's our family. We never gave you permission to do that. We're taking it back. So we're actually dissolving, our plan is to dissolve the corporate governance and to bring sovereignty back to these lands for all peoples. And that will have a ripple effect across the world. So I'm working with sovereignty from a governance perspective, but in order to be able to do that, we have to know that we are sovereign beings in and of ourselves. All of us are. Just that we've had that authority like a cloak put over us, and we've been frozen, not been able to move. But when we all come together and we work on that, getting that cloak off, we go, no more. You will give it back to us, and we're making that claim. So individually, we can make a claim for sovereignty, to be the authority of your life, your voice, your authoritative voice, and together we will claim our sovereignty again. Thank you.
That is so beautiful and so exciting. And I'm so delighted to hear that. That's just, wow. I love that. I think part of, you did it from a governance and personal sovereignty, like we really do have the right and the power to choose our experiences. And we don't understand, like most humans don't understand, they have the right and the power that they can make choices and it will start changing the world around them. It's not as hard and fast as it seems, but they have to be willing to take personal responsibility and own themselves again. And that part of that is catching the cloak. Like you're right, we've been cloaked and dumbed down. And I tell people, it's just, even inside yourself, you have to own yourself. If you're hearing the things you're saying to yourself, oh, you can't do that, that's wrong, it's not possible, whatever, grab it and say, where did you come from and why do you think that? Don't let it be true. Like, why would you want that to be true? You got to start catching that stuff and flicking it out, because it is a programming, and it's in consciousness, and you can't, like, regaining your sovereignty is looking at what you believe and what you think is possible, and questioning it so that you can open yourself up, because there's so much more possible to each one. And we are in this incredible transition of reclaiming sovereignty on individually and on collectively and on all sorts of levels. It's a very, very exciting time to be alive.
Mm-hmm.
It is so exciting. And I think for so many people, when you need to take several steps to get to that stage of recognizing sovereignty, because people, I think in general, don't recognize that they're not sovereign human beings. They don't recognize that they've had their freedoms and liberties taken away. And we've got used to it, and we've got complacent with it all. And, talking of, dumbing down and so on, what we're constantly fed through the TV, through the radio, through the government, we're told to don't focus on this, focus on that, and nowadays with social media, so many people focus on what they look like and what other people look like and how they can fit in or how they can stand out, or it's about so much about image. Younger people are forced to focus so hard on their image that it takes them really away from appreciating who their true potential, who and what they really are. And it's everything is done to conquer and divide, to split us up, in so many ways. I mean, this is another huge topic in of itself, but it's a very, very big step to really face head on the conditions that we've been placed under as human beings, where we are right now in the world today in terms of the whole situation that's going on in on Mother Earth and with humanity, and being able to think, I don't want that. I don't agree to this. I never really agreed to that, but I let it go, and look what's happened. But now I don't agree to that, and now I want to take my sovereignty back. Now I want to express truly what I stand for, what I believe in. I want to be the real me. I want to start being authentic, and not thinking that I need to dress like this, or style myself like that, or to please others, or to fit in, or to stand out. It's about the strength to recognize how you can start making steps to become sovereign. And that means perhaps looking at how you're paid, looking at who you vote for, all the different things. There's so many different aspects. And, please guys, help me out here with all the different aspects.
Well, here's a tip. Catch the voice that's in your head and go, wait a minute, whose voice is that? Is that my parents' voice or my grandparents? Or is that the voice of the TV?
Or the church?
Now you're talking. So unravel where is that coming from? Whose voice is it? And then what would your voice be? What's your voice on that? And
Absolutely.
unravel all of that conditioning. But our young people, can I go to there? Our young people need good role models. They need our adults to be sovereign so they can see what being sovereign looks like. Where they need good uncles and aunties to help mentor them, as well as parents. But it's just the aunties and uncles in my world are the ones that are more important in that, that's who young ones would go to for advice or for a bit more information, or to have a confidential conversation that they might not have with a parent. So I think if we can role model sovereignty, more and more of us, then more and more of us are going to be walking as sovereign beings. walking the mystical path with practical feet. That's what I do.
Love that.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to say one of the key themes that I'm hearing here is recognition and awareness. And I think for many people, life gets busy and it's very easy to slip into autopilot and just go about taking in what other people say and listening to TV. And so before you can even get to the place to say, whose voice is that, become aware that, okay, you're being told something, and then you can start asking, why did this person say this? Do I believe that? What are my beliefs? And so just becoming conscious in your day-to-day life and being aware of all of these things. And when people tell you, here's what you need to know, or here's what you need to think, no, that's not. Who are you and what do you think? And where does this fit into your belief system? And how can you let go of that and align with your authentic self? That just feels so key to me, because I used to live much of in autopilot zone, and I think many people do. Life gets busy and it's really easy. And I think some of the tools like television and social media, not that there's anything wrong with them, but they can become a crutch, right? Where you're just constantly taking in and not stepping back to align with yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree. When I was a lot younger and just starting off like professional employment and got married young, I used to realize and recognize that I was a different person at work to who I was with my husband, to who I was with my parents, to who I was with my friends. And I remember thinking one day, who am I? I'm all these different people and I don't even know who the real one is. And obviously I'm aspects of all of that, but that out of my early 20s did set me on a path, along with lots of other things that all the other life experiences that led me on my own personal journey to think, who am I really? It led me to really understand and appreciate, even though I had that understanding from a young child, the concept of the soul and how the soul is different from the body. But trying to figure out who and what I was and why I was sharing different sides of myself with different people, and why couldn't I just be me? Because I wasn't being me at all. I was being what I thought other people wanted me to be. And that's got incredibly confusing and exhausting, because I was never just able to just be, hold on, this is what I really think. This is who I really am. And this is what I'd really like to do with my life. So, yeah, it's those big things, isn't it?
I remember that. I'd forgotten that. You've reminded me, and I even got to a point where I thought, I didn't think anybody really understood me. This is, halfway through my life, my midlife, I thought, I don't think anybody really understands who I am. And then I thought, well, it's probably because I'm not being consistent with who I am. So therein was my answer to my own question. So it feels for younger people, there's a lot to engage with, and it's a wobbly journey to kind of go, well, there's this and there's this, and particularly with the internet, there's so much access to information. What's real and what isn't is part of the discernment that one has to learn. Because you could believe something that's not real and go along that path, and only to find that it dissipates from under you. And that too is part of learning who you are. We're not born, well, I was about to say we're not born knowing who we are, but actually maybe that's a different, I think maybe those coming through now, the star seeds, might be born knowing who they are. So I think we've got a different generational positioning of sovereignty coming through, actually, which is nice. And those children need the teachers, or need the mentors, or need the uncles and aunties to understand them and help guide them into adulthood in a way that's not going to be damaging. So the sovereignty, it's got a bit of a twist and turn in that conversation.
Well, and
We don't want it pummeled out of them.
and
Not
it's
at all.
hard because how do you suddenly get all the dinosaurs that grew up, looking outside, and making up their identity? How do you get them to suddenly start being sovereign? Like, that's what we're up against, is how do we grow the oldies into aunts and uncles worth being mentors at the same time? Like, I've worked with some of the new kids coming in, and what I see is they come in, they remember more, and they look around the world and go, man, this place is really crazy.
What am I doing here?
Right. It makes no sense. And so then they go into, addictive behaviors, alcohol, drugs, gaming, or suicidal or whatever, because they just can't, there's nothing here that reflects to them the truth of what they are. And I love it, because once you get them kind of connected up, they just start blossoming, because they're like, just to have anybody say, you're not crazy and you're here special. And this, they suddenly blossom. I'm sure you find that with the people you work with, grandmother. Well, all of you. But it's exciting, but we have to raise the oldies to be ready to catch all, and to be open to the star seeds, to be open and let them show us, like, they're going to emerge into their wholeness just faster than us. And we just have to be willing. I love watching the parents of children like that, because they're actually, many of them are exceptionally tolerant. That's not true. Some of them, they have the challenges, but they're placed purposefully wherever they're placed, the star seeds. So
No, they're amazing. Coming in with superhuman abilities that are beyond us old dinosaurs, but nevertheless, there's a thing or two to learn from us still. We're still relevant.
that's true. But I think it's funny you say superhuman, because I think they're coming in with more of the true human capabilities. Like, I think our potential is so much greater than we have any idea about. Part of why we were dumbed down and cloaked was because we have creative ability. It's built into us. It's one of the gifts we've been given. And if they can get us to believe this stuff, then it's what will play out in the world. And it's why, as we regain our sovereignty, we don't empower all of that negative limiting stuff anymore. We start empowering authenticity, freedom, creativity, reaching your full potential. Like, it's a whole different path that we're putting our energy into, instead of that negative limiting one, which is very exciting.
Absolutely, Sue. And also, psychic abilities. Some children are being born, and they always have been, but now it's being recorded. Some children are being born and they can have incredible psychic abilities, like, being totally blindfolded, but being able to then read something that someone's got, in a different room. Absolutely, 100%, totally. And it's because they just say, well, I'm standing behind and I can read it, because they can remote view, as it were, 100%. It's just perfectly. And but other psychic abilities, that we can have, like clairaudient, clairsentient. I've always been clairsentient, being able to feel energies. Sometimes I don't want to talk about myself, but I am definitely aware that we have the ability to see, hear, feel, and perceive in general far more than we are led to believe with the limited senses of our physical body. I believe that our soul has all of these senses and more, and is able to perceive beyond what our physical body can do. And this sort of thing, if we could just regain this, properly, fully, all of us, then that would catapult humanity into an entirely different way of being.
Into another field of consciousness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, where it could expand and be in the dreaming. Actually, what we call the dreaming is a field of consciousness that we can see we're all one. We're all connected. And that dreaming is just light, color. And using those extrasensory perceptions, we'd call them, the ESPs, but actually knowing that they are truly who we are. Thank you for that, Becky.
No,
Yeah.
thank you. And for many people would think, well, that's 5D, but it could be 5D and beyond. There's a lot more to the life, to life, the world, the universe than we have been led to believe. And it's such an exciting journey to start thinking about that and start exploring that and trying to find out more. And I guess with that, we've been chatting away for about an hour and a quarter, and it's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. I'd love to do this again. I really would, because there's so much more to explore. We've just we've scraped the surface but gone really deep. So we've had a few deep dives, but there's so much more we can chat about. So just wrapping up, Grandmother Mulara and Sue and Chris, do you have just like one little either nugget that you'd like to share more to finish off, or something that you really loved about what we discussed today? Who'd like to go first?
I have a little nugget, and it's just a takeaway for anybody watching this, how to start moving into the field of awareness that we're talking about. I'll say it that way. And even if in their quiet moments, whether they pray, meditate, just go sit in nature, like however you go to that deep place within, not going out, but within, to start making some declarations. And I would start it with, I am willing. And this isn't I am willing like I'm going to allow. No, I am willing. I take my will and I am willing to connect with my divine self. I am willing to be authentic and fully heal. I am willing to move into my full potential. I am willing to open up to the infinite possibility that is given all of us. I am willing to remember wholeness and oneness and all the gifts that, I've been given. I am willing to discover my gifts and fulfill my life's purpose, my mission, whatever that is, and people can fill in what they want, but just that I am willing, which is an openness, but it's also a statement of will. It's not a hard one, it's a soft one, because that will start bringing, in fact, you can even add on the end, what do I need for this? Help me to receive what I need for all of these choices. That's my takeaway. And thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I love it.
If I might just pick up from what Sue said, and what I call is being called to sacred duty. So as a sacred wisdom piece, the finishing is that, we all have free will in this world, but it's how we work with it and how we align our lower will to our higher will. It's what Sue's talking about, the will of the divine. And then that alignment will lead to a more harmonious life. So when things are out of alignment, be of service, give service, do something for others. Adopt an elder, I say, for some people, in the neighborhood. Look after them. Be in alignment, so that'll help you to be in alignment. When we are of service to something greater than ourselves, it's not about us, but just something bigger than ourselves. It can be the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, the crystal kingdom, the elementals, humanity. It's to a higher consciousness. And in doing that, you'll find that whatever the blockages are in your alignment can dissipate, dissolve. And you're of service into something bigger than yourself. Whatever that little lower will was holding on to, that little piece of ego or that little bit of humanity that was not really helping you, it can go, because it allows you to be fully who you are and to embrace and meet who you actually fully are, perhaps for the first time. Beautiful. Thank you. It's been a great chat. Thank you. A great yarn, as we would say.
Thank you, Grandmother Mulara and Sue. And gosh, we've talked about so many amazing topics. It's hard to pick just one, but I think I'm going to go back to the very beginning where Grandmother Mulara was talking about our deep connection to Mother Earth. And the one thing that really touched me, and that I would like everyone listening to this to maybe think about that connection, and that every thought that we have, our energy, our actions, all impacts not only other people around us and the consciousness around us, but Mother Earth, and that we're all connected. I thought that was very beautiful.
Thank you all. And I think with all of this, once you start on this journey, and once you find and start on the journey of discovering your true self and a bit more about the earth and the universe around you, you start to what we call, vibrate at a higher rate and start to resonate with others, and you will attract others and start to meet others who are on similar journeys to you, not identical because everyone's journey is unique, but on similar levels, so that you are able to then explore the next stage of your life, surrounded with some people who are also doing similar, so that you are able to then discuss more, learn more. This is certainly what I found. And I guess this is quite a good segue into Connecting Consciousness. We have the organization Connecting Consciousness, where if you're not a member, you can join. It is free. We have coordinators all around the world now who help support our members locally. We have Mighty Networks as a forum where members can connect with others worldwide. And Chris and I share monthly spiritual topics, 10 months in a year, to discuss different aspects of spirituality. And we set a few questions just to start you thinking a bit more about different things to do with that topic. And it is very much a journey of self-discovery. No one person is better or more spiritual than the other. We're all here to have our unique journey, to learn more, to spiritually develop, so that we can help humanity and we can find our individual gifts and start really doing what it is that we came here to do. Even if it is like a regular job, doing it in a way that brings you the greatest joy, that you are able to share that with others and help others live, just help share your wonderful gifts, and that makes people, around you happier. It's hard to explain. I'm not a great explainer, but I kind of know what I mean.
We all got it? No problem.
That's all right then.
There's so much to say. How do you say it in such a short bit?
Yes. Thank you, Becky, and thank you again, Grandmother Mulara and Sue. So one last question. If our viewers would like to learn more about you and the work that you do, Grandmother Mulara, how can they find you?
My website is in full, grandmotherwisdom.com is the website. So you can find me there, send me a message. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue?
My website is suecimino.com. They can see the spelling on the screen right now, suecimino.com. They can send a message, get the book, see what I offer, blah, blah, blah. Lots of information there.
Thank you to both of you. We'll include the links to your websites along with the video.
Okay, so we shall wrap up now, and I hope that we can reconvene in a couple of weeks or so to further our chats. I know that also we have in future podcasts, we've got Simon who's looking forward to joining us for a chat on spiritual topics. And we've got Tiana as well. She's a lovely young lady who's done some videos with Charlie Ward and other people. And so we're looking forward to having Tiana back. I met her at the Great Awakening conference back in May, and she's just a beautiful human being, beautiful spiritual woman. So I can't wait for her to join us as well. All right, so take care. Lots of love, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.